We start with a stunning and brave Latina immigrant what works in the American army and is being transferred to a super isolated nuclear defence base in the middle of one of the world's main oceans, and is struggling to get over flashbacks of a Gamini general pinching her batty and trying to get it on with her. Upon arrival at the base, she's met by a stunning and brave black lady with 3 buck teeth who tells her she's stunning and brave and then is never seen again. We quickly find out that the main heroine's name is JJ, clearly an homage to the other famous JJ working in films who was also likely abused in his past, given he works in Hollywood and keeps failing upwards. And we're quickly told that 6 or so men and a stuntwoman have infiltrated the super secure base disguised as newly hired janitors. Not a joke. Apparently they want to set off a bunch of Russian nukes because reasons, and this is one of the only 2 bases in America that can intercept the missiles before they reach their targets. Turns out the only other facility that can stop the bombs was Fort Greely, the same facility that was just taken out a few hours ago, leaving this base in the middle of the ocean as the last line of defence against total American decimation. The only brave officers the American civilians now have to rely on is the aforementioned Spanish immigrant, an Asian Hindu immigrant, and a super toxic southern sexist racist called Beaver Baker. Again, not making this up. The trio then manage to lock themselves in the control room whilst the squad of bad guy goons begin to blowtorch their way through the reinforced steel security doors. But in a shocking twist the audience never sees coming, the super toxic southern racist sexist guy betrays the good guys and opens the door, revealing himself to have been working with the main villain all along, also because reasons. The movie's main antagonist is called Alexander Kessel, and in a stunning and brave move what we don't see too often in movies, they've gone and cast a nondescript straight white guy to antagonise the 2 heroic immigrants trying to save America from the 2 natural born Americans what are trying to destroy it. So stunning, so brave. Anyway, then some things happen and they almost shoot up a turtle, and by the end of the first act, the guys have commandeered the control room, tied up the 2 heroes and fired off the first nuke. But luckily, JJ has an old sports injury and quickly slips her binds by dislocating her thumb, and proceeds to take on everyone in the room by a Jack Jones. After chasing most of the giant muscly men out into the hallway, she's left to confront the remaining strong muscly stuntwoman before they both proceed to throw each other around the room whilst giving me a giant lob on. But for some reason, this super strong muscly stuntwoman also has the secret to immortality, because the silent fucker just won't die. She takes a laptop to the neck, a throat full of sealant, and 3 slugs to the chest, and still she gets back up, before JJ remembers rule number 2 from Zombieland and puts her down with a headshot, like the zombie queen she seems to be, for whatever reason. So then she sets off the Interceptor missile and saves LA from nuclear devastation, even though that's probably the one city in the States that could benefit from a total wipeout. Or a great reset, as my boy Klaus likes to call these things. Meanwhile, the Asian Hindu immigrant then regains consciousness after having previously been smacked upside the head by the racist southern guy, and volunteers to go down into the bowels of the base to shut off the bulkheads after the bad guy sets off the facility's self-sinking protocols, in what is absolutely not at all a clear and obvious one-way suicide trip. And why Kessel didn't just start sinking the place the very moment he secured the control room the first time, I can't really say. But anyway, after the Asian Hindu immigrant shockingly dies after completing his clear and obvious one-way suicide trip, JJ decides she's still pissed at the bad guy having killed her father on camera to try and get her to open the door. So in a desperate bid to get her vengeance, she starts taping up the security door and waits for the southern racist sexist guy to decide to bust in through the underhatch, I guess. Turns out the genius plan is to let the bad guys actually set off all 16 nukes so that the good guys have a chance to set off the interceptors in time, before the defence facility sinks into the ocean and thereby leaving the Russian missiles without a means to be stopped. Upon reading this utterly farcical script, a hilariously camp government analyst rates JJ's super amazing yet admittedly counterintuitive absurdist plan as having just a 14% chance of succeeding, but luckily she's wearing a die-hard vest and has plot armour up the kazoo. So she just thinks screw it and goes ahead with this cockamamie scheme. Naturally, the bad guys quickly retake the control room and proceed to set off all the nukes whilst destroying the interceptor controls with acid, before our heroine reveals herself to have been hidden in the sea suit thing all along, and once again chases the main bad guy out of the room for like the 3rd time now. Man, this geezer's more cucked than Justin Trudeau at a feminist rally. Anyway, with a nuclear countdown timer ticking on, she somehow manages to save a key component of the Interceptor control console from being dissolved by acid, and takes it to the roof where she hooks it up to Chekhov's laptop, last referenced briefly in Act 1 in the form of a throwaway joke, and uses it to set up the Interceptor system without even needing to guess Beaver Blake's password to get onto the desktop because reasons. It's here that Beaver Blake almost derails all the good guys' plans by sneaking up and shooting JJ in the back of the head before she can set off the protective missiles. But for some reason he just doesn't, and instead they have a punch up and he ends up decapitated by his own misogyny as she falls down into the ocean below. With barely 3 minutes to go, she somehow climbs up a giant ladder and does some one-handed monkey bar acrobatics in what can only be described as Fast and Furious levels of cartoonish script writing. And after an incredibly tense and nail-biting climax, she manages to get back on the roof and activate the Interceptor missiles, thus saving the day, though dooming San Francisco to a continued miserable existence of poopy streets and being run by Nancy Pelosi. Then Kessel's Russian mates turn up on a submarine out of the literal blue and shoot him dead instead of saving him like they promised, who then nod in respect to this random woman for some reason, even though she was the one what ruined all their plans. JJ then wakes up in hospital to be given a security job by the stunning and brave female president, and gets a hug from her dad, who turns out to still be alive because the movie can't bear to have consequences or follow through in its stakes. Then it ends with the stunning and brave JJ having overcome the patriarchy and defeating the straight white males who have tried to oppress her throughout the movie. And the camera pulls back to reveal thousands of cards, flowers and balloons thanking her for saving America. And surely a fair few saying fuck you from disappointed Bay Area residents too. Anyway, consider ringing that bell thing so you don't miss any future recaps. Tell me if you like this flick in the comments if you have time, and I'll see you in the next one.